Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the I Will Aim podcast. Our topic for today is Magnet for Miracle, the 72-hour reset that rewire what your life respond to. With my special guest, Rihanna Malia. Hi, Rihanna. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Let's start with a quick introduction.
Okay, great. So, my name is Rihanna Malia, and I am a board certified integrative neurosomatic practitioner, which is a whole lot of words to say that I work with high capacity people, mostly women, but some men, that have really had success in most areas of their life, except for one, the thing they want the most, which is extraordinary love. And or they're in that time of life where it's transition time, where it's that question of who am I now and how do I get there?
I'm really excited to talk about this Magnet for Miracle. When you say Magnet for Miracle, what does that really mean?
So I my life largely is driven by values. And when I say values, it's kind of those the core of who I am and what my business is. So my top values are love, impact, belief in what's possible, generosity, and being a magnet for miracles. And being a magnet for miracles is my favorite thing to teach. And what that really means is normalizing miracles, normalizing that things go your way, normalizing that things are going to turn out better than you could have even ever imagined because we just have finite possibilities in our conscious mind. And it's really changes lives. I have so many clients that say, honestly, I thought that was kind of silly, and now like I can't tell you how much different my life is. And so it is really an honor and a joy because it's pretty simple.
As you mentioned, normalized miracle. To me, it's like, wow, that's awesome. How do you help people shift that mindset when you're in the discovery session?
So first, I mean, before we can do anything, right, we have to understand a little bit about the context of the difference between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So if we think about our body, everything from the neck up, it's our conscious mind, right? We use it all day long. It's 10%, which means everything from the neck down, the other 90% is our unconscious mind. So if the conscious is the goal setter, the unconscious is the goal getter. It's the operating system.
Mm.
It's the general, and it's also the literal library of every experience we've ever had in this life, held at a cellular level, right? So we think about memory being in the brain, and of course it's in the circuitry, but it's cellular. We know that, right? Science. So when we have all of that weight, largely around negative emotion that we're holding in our body, it makes it really difficult for us to be open to receive what's meant for us. It's kind of like a
Mm.
pantry. My pantry a couple months ago was a disaster, and I took everything out, and it was crazy. And there was expired pasta and old crackers, and, all the stuff. And I threw it all away, and I put it back, and it was like so organized and fabulous. And it's the same for us. Expired ways of thinking, expired identities, expired story keeps us in that space, right? And again, before we can really even talk about how to do it, we need to understand that we think between 65,000 and 85,000 thoughts every day.
Wow.
90% of those thoughts are recycled. So they're the same thoughts that we thought yesterday and the day before and the week before and the month before and in the middle of the night and probably last year. And the problem with that, and here's where I get a lot of pushback, is 75% of those thoughts are negative. So my clients are smart, emotionally intelligent people. So I get the pushback that says, "Oh no, I am so good on mindset. I have done all the mindset work." But what most people don't realize is the way that our brains are wired and designed is we're most often thinking about all the things we don't want. And when we're thinking about the things we don't want, the unconscious mind does not hear the qualifying don't. It just knows that's what we have to do. So when we're saying, I don't want to be in another relationship where I feel like I can't trust this person. I don't want to be in another relationship where I'm not cherished. I don't want to be in this job that I hate. I don't want to have this debt, etc., etc. So imagine that that's your unconscious mind is your GPS in your car, and So your GPS is saying, okay, got it. We have to debt. We're going to make sure we look for people that make us feel unsafe and that treat us horribly. And I'll make sure you always have a job that you hate. Because here's the thing, the unconscious mind will never make you a liar.
Wow. That's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like it's interesting because you always think that when you said you don't, it's I don't really want that. And it's like you're broadcasting that to the universe, and the universe is like, hey, you want a job that you're not happy about. Okay, let me give you that one.
That's right.
It's amazing. When we talk about the 72-hour reset, what was happening in your life that made you create the 72-hour reset program?
Well, it's really just a piece of the work, but it's the work
Ah,
that I
okay.
call it. It's the teaching the magnet for miracles, but it's inside of the methodology, right? Clear to create methodology, and what that really is we all want to live our very best life, and my
Mm,
tagline has always been that your very best life. Whether we've been friends for 20 minutes or 20 years, I want you to live your version of that, and it's going to be a little different for every single person. But you cannot go from old story and old ways of being and trauma and divorce and childhood stuff and a failed business and friendship, all these things that we have experienced. You can't just go from that to just living your very best life, right? It doesn't happen that way. So we have to clear before we can create. But before we can clear anything, we have to get crystal clear. And most people who I asked, all right, let's talk about what you want. Let's talk about who you are, what you want, who you want. And they're like, oh, I'm totally clear about that. And then when we get into I define really getting into who you are and what you want is doing a values elicitation, looking at
mhm.
non-negotiables and desires. And those things together become the clarity codex. And without that, there's no foundation for anything else, right? It would be like going to a restaurant, sitting down, and the server says, what can I bring you? And we say, we're thirsty. We'll start with a salad, give us some nice protein and a beautiful vegetable. Great. He brings us back some sparkling water, Caesar salads, some roasted chicken, and some lovely Brussels sprouts. And we got exactly what we ordered. Except what we wanted was a nice glass of Pinot, an arugula salad with some goat cheese and beets, a great ribeye, and some roasted asparagus. And that's the difference of why most people never get what they want and then live in the world where they say, how come I never get what I want? So before you can even think about clearing anything, we have to get that clarity. So that comes first. And then we can actually have a dysfunction detox and blow all of that old strategy and neurology and behavior out so that we can replace it with the good stuff, right? But to answer your question, I think for all of us, we all have a story, right? And we do the work
Mhm.
that we're called to do, not because we woke up one day and said, "Oh, I think I'm going to go to some coaching school," right? And do this thing for no reason. I don't call myself a coach, but it's the life journey. Um, you know, grew up with a single mom. Dad was in and out, not very trustworthy. Got married really, really young. Um, Stayed married, had our miracle child, Maddie, she's turned 22, but when she was 6, we
Wow.
divorced. And I thought it was going to be really calm, and it turned really crazy and horrible.
Mhm.
And then you do all the things you're told to do, right? You go to therapy, you talk about it. You sit with your girlfriends and you talk about it. And you read the books and you listen to the courses and maybe you go on a retreat. And all of that has benefit. And in fact, it's important. Like if you haven't done some therapy, don't come to me. I'm not your girl.
Mhm.
Come see me after you've done some work. But at a certain point, everybody says, I want a different story. And my answer to you is then stop telling the old one. Because we have to clear the story to create the life, right? And when you're telling the old story and you're living in it and the drama and the retelling of it, number one, every single time you do that, your body experiences it
Yep.
as cellular memory as though it's happening again and again. And that's reinforcing that neurology and those neural pathways of, okay, this is our life. This is what we're doing. This is what we're focusing on. And you have to clear the patterns to create the partnerships. We all want aligned, fulfilling genuine partnerships, right? Romantically, professionally, personally, with our friends, our family, our kids. But when you bring all this old stuff, all that old pattern and all the stuff that's running the show, you don't get those partnerships. What do you get? You get more of the same, which is what you don't want.
It's like when you're replaying it, you're reprogramming yourself, and you're not getting rid of the old backpack. Like I imagine, like as a backpack, things that are like holding you down and weighing you down are your old backpack, and you don't want it anymore,
Yeah.
right?
But the thing is, you keep putting it on, and then every day that you put it on, you add more rocks to it. You're just making it heavier and heavier.
I'm,
And you're
I'm
trying to
just
walk up,
imagining it.
and you just can't even get there.
And whenever you take it off, you'll be like, I don't feel good because I had that weight on my back,
Yeah, like what?
right?
That's
Like,
scary. And that's the thing about the unconscious mind. It has two roles. Number one, to keep us safe, but keeping us safe means typically keep us where we are because it knows how to
wow,
survive the trauma or the dysfunction or the depression, whatever it is. It knows how to survive in that. On the other side, which is where most of us want to be, is scary because we all have a self-imposed boundary. And when we get close to that, it's like that voice in your head gets really loud. Hey, don't, no. We're good. We don't need to do this thing. We don't need to get better. We're good. We know how to function in this. We've functioned in chaos our whole life from childhood on. So the second thing that the unconscious mind does is it seeks resolution. So whatever needs didn't get met consciously will get met unconsciously. So if as at some point in your life, if you didn't feel safe, there was chaos in your home or there was trust stuff, whatever happens, your unconscious mind will continue playing that out inside of relationships until it gets resolution because it's the only way to do it. It keeps
wow.
creating the drama, creating the relationship issues, creating the debt, creating the money, whatever it is. It wants resolution. So it's really fascinating because, like you said, most people think that they're declaring, I don't want this. And what they're doing is asking for it more. And again,
We sort of talk about the first two steps. How many steps are there in the 72-hour reset?
yeah, so that kind of falls in that first. So clearing, creating, claiming, right? So the
Clearing, creating, claiming. Okay.
yes. And really clearing is all about getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't serve you so that you can step into the person that you are. Then we move into the create phase, which means, all right, great. Now we know who you are and what you want. Now let's give you new strategy and neurology and behavior. Unconscious, subconscious stuff. Is it painless? When you don't replace what you blow out, which is a lot of the work in the world, that you have all these ahas and you make this progress and it feels so good. And then something happens because life always happens. And instead of staying in that space of progress,
You go back.
bam, you go right back to where you started. And everybody says, I don't get it. I've been in therapy for years. I've done all this work. But if you don't, again, replace that neurology. So then when we do that, then you actually have an opportunity to create the life and the love and the dreams that are meant for you. And then when you claim it, you own it and you integrate that and you embody that. And we can talk more about that later. But the becoming a magnet for miracles and doing that 72-hour reset is in the very first phase, right? It's the first thing we do in clearing once we get that clarity piece. So now we really know who you are, what you want. Now, I'd love to walk you through the process so that any of you that are listening, if there are things in your life that aren't going the way in which they could or should, this conversation is for you. If you have the very scientific things that you need to participate in this, you need a rubber band and 2 pieces of paper, and that's it. Very technical. Before I walk you through the process, I want to give you another visual. So all of us are governed, all human beings are governed by 4 states: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I want you to imagine for a minute when I just asked you the question of all the things in your life that they're not the way you want them, right? They're just not the way you want them. Imagine those that we baked a cake and we pull it out of the oven. That's all the stuff we don't want. And we take a bite and it tastes terrible, right? So we're like, I don't know what we did. So how are we going to bake a better cake? Well, we're going to look at the ingredients. Well, the ingredients are spiritual, emotional, and mental. And it all starts here. Because when you think about communication and how the brain works, something happens, right? And an event happens and it comes in through all of our senses, and then we delete, distort, and distribute because the brain can only handle so many bits per second. And then it goes through all your filters, your stories, your beliefs, your past experiences, the evidence of, all these things always happen to me, etc. And it mixes with your physiology, and that becomes your state. Your state creates your thoughts. Your thoughts create your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your life, right? That's the blueprint. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually rewire the neurology in your brain over the next 3 days. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. Get 2 clean pieces of paper and a rubber band. And the rubber band for ladies can't be like the soft, smushy ones we wear at night and when we go to sleep. It has to be like the office one that when you snap it, it stings, okay? Because we need the pattern interrupt. And, the other thing that this does on the other side of this 72 hours is when we think about everything that we want for ourselves and our life, and we think about where we kind of hang out consciously and what we are focusing on and thinking about, right? And so that's a frequency. So there's really high frequency vibration for emotions, and there's really low frequency. And often we think we're hanging out here consciously, and we are, but it's that unconscious stuff that's hanging out down here. So I'd love to ask you a question. What is your favorite genre of music, or one of your favorites?
I would say jazz.
Okay, amazing. And then what it would be a least favorite?
I would say rap. Nothing against it.
Yeah, got it. Okay, amazing. So for all of you listening, insert for you, think about what your favorite music is and your least favorite music. And I want you to imagine for a moment that the everything you want for your life is for you, is hanging out on Sirius XM 123, all jazz, all day, all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Health, wealth, love, impact, family, all of it's right here. But all these things aren't quite right. And you keep having these thoughts and these fears, and your unconscious is hanging out down here on channel 50, and it's all rap all day. And you can't turn it off. You can't even turn it down. Okay.
Yep.
So the question is, can you hear jazz? Are they going to play jazz on the rap station? No chance. So how do you get to the jazz station? You have to increase the frequency, right? You have to change the channel.
Yep.
And here's why this is so important. We don't get what we want. We get who we are. And that's why we have to change the frequency, because the universe is never going to direct you. It's going to reflect you. So all the things you're thinking about, focusing on, that's what's going to keep showing up. Okay. So here's how we're going to fix it. I want you to imagine that you're in a room with 4 walls, and one left, one right, one in front of you, one behind you. And I want you to think about which wall, if you had to pick one, would be your away wall. Now, on your away wall is all those things you don't want. You don't want more of, ever, again, all the things, right? So imagine where that wall would be for you. And then I want you to imagine another wall, and that is your toward wall. And on your toward wall are all the hopes, wishes, dreams, goals, magic, fairy dust, all the things, right? And before you do anything else, I want you to actually take those 2 pieces of paper, and on the top of one, write away, and on the top of the other, write toward. And I want you to take a few minutes, and I want you to actually make those lists. I want you to actually think about every area of your life: the messy car, the dog needs a haircut, all the stuff that seems little but annoying, that isn't working in the way it could or should, on that away wall. And then on the toward wall, I want you to do the same. I want you to write down everything you want. And the trick here is no limiting, no rationalizing, no saying, well, I'm not going to put that on the list because then it'll just be disappointing because I'm too old for that, or it's too late for me, or no. all the things. The bigger the feeling it gives you, excitement and joy, the better. And then what's going to happen is you're going to make these lists. And then I would like you to either, if you are somebody that carries a cell phone all the time, like me, I would ask you to take photos of both of those lists and then pin them in your phone on your notes app or wherever so that you can access them very, very easily over the course of these next few days. And then the other ones, depending on how you process information, if you're really visual, I have a lot of clients that will pick a room, bathroom, closet, office, and they will actually put those lists on the corresponding walls for them, like as a grounding anchor. Not required, by the way. All right. And then when you're ready to begin, you're going to put the rubber band on. And the rubber band does not come off for 3 days. Okay. Now, as you start going through your life, and you're just going to do your life, right? We're not taking 3 days and going to a retreat. Like, you're just doing your life. I want you to start to recognize when you all of a sudden catch yourself either thinking about something that you don't want, thinking about a fear or some lack or a worry, and then I want you to snap the rubber band. And I want you to ask yourself, okay, what exactly was I thinking about? And kind of name it, right? And that's where the frequency piece comes in. So kind of name that emotion. And I want you to choose a better feeling thought. And this is not about toxic positivity and going, well, okay, I'm super ragefully angry at this moment and I'm just going to go jump right to joy. Well, no, don't do that. It's not healthy. It's not even possible. But you could go from rage to boredom. But the way to do it, and I don't worry about that piece so much, but what I want you to do is this. Number one, think about what it was you were thinking about. I promise you it was something on that away wall list. Number two, replace the thought. And you can do that a few ways. Easiest way would be look at that toward wall list and pick something and just feel it as though it is. Imagine you woke up this morning and whatever that thing is, it's done. It's already happened. Because the thing is when we hold a thought for 17 seconds with emotion, with all the senses, that creates neural pathways, either new ones or reinforces old ones. So visualizing, I always tell people, all right, what is it? Okay, on that list, trip to Italy, great, you're in Italy. What do you see? All these gorgeous little streets and boutiques. Okay, what do you hear? I hear people speaking Italian and somebody's laughing. And what do you smell? Oh my gosh, I smell fresh bread. And what, is there anything you're touching? Anything you're feeling? So you activate that because the brain doesn't know the difference between something that actually happens and something that you visualize with emotion and with the senses, right? So if you can't look at your list or that just feels like too much, you can also just sit in gratitude for 30 seconds, but not in the Pollyanna way, not in the way that you're like, I am so grateful for my life. No. What are you grateful for right now in this moment? Like genuinely. Like it's been raining for days and the freaking sun is shining and it feels so good. Or, you know what I mean? Just really like truly, truly, truly grateful in that moment. And then when you do those things, if you're still feeling that kind of pit in your stomach, like you're still in the yuck, I want you to ask yourself, who can I serve in this moment? And it doesn't have to be a big deal, right? It doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It could literally be a text to a friend saying, love you, hope you're having a great day. It could be a prayer for someone. It could be you saw your neighbor's trash cans blown over and it's been sitting there for 2 days and you pick it up for them. But getting out of your head in service of someone else is super, super fast way to raise that vibration. Now you're going to notice the first day, you're not going to snap it very much because you're not even going to notice because you're so used to living like this, right? It's just how we think, how we process, how we go about things. You might snap it a couple times. You might, who knows, but you might even not in the moment that first day be able to catch it, but you'll feel it in your body at some point. You'll feel a little anxious or your heart will be racing or have a pit in your stomach or you just have that heaviness. Then snap it. Then I want you to go back as far as you can and try to recall the last thing you were thinking about and do the same process. Okay. So the next day, you're going to start snapping more. And the next day, you're going to start snapping more. And this is not about you're never going to have these thoughts again. We're human. We're not going to have a lobotomy. We're going to have doubts and fears and mad. That's part of the human experience. The point is that you're not staying in it. For most people, they stay in it all day or many, many, many hours, or something happens that puts you in this state of fear or anger or jealousy or shame or guilt or whatever it is. And you sit in that and you ruminate on it and you think about it and you process it and you think about it and you think about it. And then you go tell your friend about it at lunch. And then, you call somebody on the way home and tell them about it. Like, great. That is all day. You're just giving your body and your unconscious mind the direction and the validation and the reassurance that, yes, this is what we're focusing on. So this is what we're going to get more of. So it's about being able to get to the point where you're thinking the thing and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God. And then you flip it and you're going to see the things around you start shifting, right? The cake is going to taste amazing. So my daughter and I have this funny thing between us, and all of our friends are like, how do you do that? Where everywhere we go, there's always a parking spot, no matter what, always. And I'm sure you have people in your life or have known somebody that's like, I never find a parking spot. I never get the thing. I got my hair cut and they never do it right. Like, always, right? All those things. And yeah, well, again, that's what you're giving. You're giving the directions. So we play the game and it never once not happened. There's always a parking spot because we expect it. We normalized that we are somebody that there's always a parking spot waiting for us when we need one, right? So normalizing the miracles, being the magnet for all the amazing things and seeing all of and having the people and the experiences and the resources that you want in your life drawn in instead of more of what you don't want, right? Because staying in that way of focus and that way of thinking and that way of processing is the absolute 100% guarantee you'll never actually move forward or get what you want. And you'll spend a lifetime wishing for it and wondering, why not me? Why do other people get to have this relationship or this, success or whatever it is, and I don't? So if you play at 1,000% and you go all in for the next 72 hours, you will be amazed at what shifts in your world.
Wow, just I actually did the exercise. I have a away side of my paper and towards, and I
Great.
put the list. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this over the next 3 days. And I love the exercise where you sort of caught yourself thinking of that thought,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think the snapping of the rubber band was just like very, in many ways, like poetic. Like, boom, you now feel that shift that you want to go to. The fact that you mentioned about if your way have an item, pair it with something on the toward list that you could shift to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by doing that, I think sort of like you, in a way, you're reprogramming yourself, right?
Absolutely. Like this is not like theoretical. This is neuroscience. And I use 72 hours not as an arbitrary number. Like neuroscience has proven we can actually do this in 72 hours. So it is simple, but it is the most powerful thing that you can do to change your life right now. And it costs
Wow.
you zero money.
I'm gonna be doing it for 72 hours, and I'm gonna keep you posted
Yeah.
on my progress. And I have items on my list that I'm gonna be working on and shifting from.
Amazing.
If someone's out there who wants to work with you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Absolutely. And just so you know, all of my work is private. I don't do courses or programs or group stuff because this work is, it's bespoke in the sense that yes, my frameworks and my IP and my methodology is all the same, but every single person is different where we're starting from, what you need. So it's really designed for each person. But you can find me on my website, rihannamelia.com. You can find me on all the socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. And I would also like to leave you guys with a gift, if I may leave your listeners with a gift. So we started this conversation talking about clarity. And before you can even get to the point of clarity where we're figuring that out, we have to have some insight. But it needs to be insight that's real. So I created an assessment called the Extraordinary Love Index, which we lovingly call Ellie. So the Ellie answers the question, what is standing between you and extraordinary love? Now that can be romantic love, it can be self-love, it can be, you've had this strained relationships in your family. And I want you to know that this is not like a what Disney character quiz are you, right? It's 40 questions. So give yourself a good 10, 15 minutes so you can answer it thoughtfully. And then I'm going to send you a 28-page personalized report, which is going to look at 9 key areas. And from that, it's going to break it down. And it's going to say, based on this, you might be experiencing this in your life. These things might be happening. Here's the cost for you of staying there. And here's something you can do right now to help move you toward more of what you want to be, right? So that level of insight in a way in which you've never had it is going to, again, give you like that basis. And you're going to read the report and you're going to go, okay, that makes so much sense. It connects some dots for you. And then after you take the Ellie, absolutely, send me a message, schedule a time to chat. How can I support you? Because then you've already taken that first big step. You have the insight, right? So my gift to all of you, go take the Ellie.
I'm gonna add that link to the post when it goes out. In fact, I'm
Okay.
gonna create a short video to add ahead of this particular video to let people know there's this Ellie assessment that they need to take. Thank you, Rihanna, for your time. I really appreciate you being a guest on my podcast. Thank you. Have a good day.